Hello everybody. Now it's time to make some turn signals interact with the switches. Now, before we begin, let's go through a little bit of a breakdown of what we're doing here. I have some old laptop batteries over here in series, some 18650 cells. Reach over here and I'll grab a couple. Standard guys, for laptop cells. And I charge it inside of my USB battery bank, mainly because I don't have a means of charging it at the moment. So this guy right here allows me to charge my cells and tell me their health, and then take them out and use them in this circuit. So I'm going to be using 18650 cells for now. So I have a 12 volt 18650 cell that I just taped up together temporarily. And that is leading into a Novita EP34 LED and incandescent turn signal blinker. Now, all this little black box does is make the blinkers blink. And if you look at it, it looks kind of crazy, but it's fairly simple. We have a common ground, which is normally grounded to the frame of your bike, moped, scooter, motorcycle, whatever may have you. This is basically your negative input. And then you have our battery input, which is our positive lead, and then this white one, basically what it does is it just sends a pulsed signal coming out. So we have one white lead going to the brown wire of my control mech right over here. So right now you'll notice that the turn signal indicators are in the off position, left and right. So we have the green lead going to one side and the yellow lead going to the other side. Which I forget. I think everything looks plugged in at the moment. And if you notice, we have the red wires hooked up. What I've done is I've taken, since this blue wire coming straight off of the 18650, these are straight 12 volts, I wound up getting a 12 volt LED bulb for the inside of my headlamp. And if you notice that there's sort of like a chassis common ground over here, if I can expand this chassis common ground, I can basically break this down so I don't have to use both black wires. I can just use the one black wire, one red wire, and one 12 volt line for the front lamp, so we can cut down on the amount of wiring that we have to do. But that's where a lot of people kind of get thrown off. But let's just get back to the basics. So I've taken my 12 volt battery pack and I've hooked it up to my blinker. Okay, so this white lead sends out a pulse. So when I enable this, you'll see that we're getting a nice blink left, blink right, and neutral. And then what I've also done is this red button here for the lights is just a simple push button, 2 wires. So I've taken the ground, as you can see here, which is going straight to the ground of the battery, and we also have the 12 volt positive lead wiring directly into the switch. So we have 12 volts that'll run directly into this. So if I decide to use the chassis for the bike as a common ground, I can still do that. So when I push this red button, that goes on. And this little box just sits in series with the turn signals. This is totally independent on its own. And to get the rear turn signals to synchronize, we're just putting them in parallel. So the left side black and red wires tie together, the right side black and red wires tie together, so that way we have unified left and right turn signals, and we have a functional headlamp. Now, I just wanted to take a quick little look, and I don't think I'm going to be covering this too much. Maybe I'll do a separate video about it, but I made these really groovy little, I don't know what to call them, just a way so I can get the LED lamps onto the moped. I just kind of, I want to show you how I put this together. So I mentioned previously that I had an old nylon chair I used to recover the seat. So all I did is, if you take a quick look, is this metal piece right here is nothing more than a segment of old armchair from a beach chair. I then used some steel putty epoxy in the middle, and I mounted one of the original hex bolts. And in order to make sure that everything was level, I put the washer on in place, and then I slowly tightened the nut, not to pull like, you know, too much putty epoxy out, but I then went in through the back and I patted down with a flat object. I just used a Sharpie, and I patted down the epoxy and I let it set. Then I mounted this to the moped so I know which way was straight. I marked where to drill my hole for the wiring, and then I kind of just sort of took the smaller drill bit and then angled it sideways so we can get our tubing to sort of go to the side a little bit. You know, it'll sort of tuck away a little bit more. But to get the turn signal to attach to the pipe, I basically filled it with hot glue, and then eventually upgraded that to Sugru. So yeah, you know, you can turn these a little bit more if necessary so you can get them aligned. But unfortunately, when I glued this guy together, or when he was setting, he's a little cockeyed, so I'm going to have to redo this one. So I may do a secondary video, and I'll just show you the sins right now. I just used hot glue, and it worked fine. I figured, you know, I could do something where I can affix these things down and make a special metal bit, but the amount of vibrations that this is coming right off the forks, and I didn't want any of the electrical to go screwed up because of how much bodge job I'm doing on this. But this is a quick rundown of how I'm doing the electrical. What I'm going to be doing is taking a battery bank of 18650 cells, this Novita switcher, some LED turn signals, an LED headlamp, and basically running it off of 3 to 5 18650 cells. I'm just waiting for my battery bank to come in, and from this point on, yeah, now we just got to go down to the bike and wire everything up. So, until then, cheers, beers, and bunny ears, everyone.